Yo, what's good guys? Legitimate Trickster here, coming at you with some crown farming conclusions. All of my findings wrapped up into this short video, showing you firsthand in this investigation of the Teostra, getting a miniature crown to pop. Now, let's get into it. I'm sure many of you are anxiously waiting to get this trophy done, probably more frustrated than anxious, but let's not get into that. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of what to look for and how to increase your odds of getting crowns to generate crown monsters. Okay, aside from the event quests covered in my other videos, I'll just brush over them real quick. It's Deep Green Blues, Wild Spiral Bolero, Choral Waltz, Effluvial Opera, and Rock and Roll Recess for the increased odds for the monsters on those maps. Guaranteed crowns, again, refer back to those videos. I only have a few of them off the top of my head. Proving Ground for the large Anjanath, Scorn of the Sun for large Teostra, and USJ with the Dodo Gamma, and Azure Rathalos, the other USJ for both of the Jagresses. So, you are catching me on my third attempt at Teostra. The first one was a flop because I loaded into the wrong investigation, which is the investigation we're watching right now. However, according to suggestions online, you don't want multiple feints. You want that condition altered. But I had success in this, so that's why we're watching it now. This run, however, was not successful, so we are going to skip through to the end. The way I measure the monster, as you saw there, a lot of the suggestions online say to use a shock trap, but saving time, I feel it's more efficient to just walk next to the monster and save yourself the materials of always having to use a shock trap. It saves time, in my opinion. It saves materials. It saves your time for having to gather more materials. It just saves time for the sake of saving time. Thank you very much. So what I do is I size the monster up. This was my first go at it for the day, so I wanted a size reference fresh off the top of my head. I slayed the monster to see if a crown would pop because I'm not familiar with the monster sizes and I'm not looking at any guides online for measuring the monsters. Everything here is pretty much raw and my own sort of take on it, so I slayed the monster. Just skip the video for you so you don't have to witness that 10-minute hunt. But we are going to watch the next one because that is when I do get the crown to pop. So recapping on the investigations I've done thus far. I did one investigation where obviously I felt like I loaded the wrong one because it wasn't the one I was attempting to load. So I went down to check the monster, felt it wasn't small enough, so I backed out, I abandoned the quest, and then I loaded into the right one, which I then felt the Teostra was small enough in that investigation, so I went ahead and engaged the monster. However, about 3/4 of the way through, somebody joined, and for online stuff, the monsters obviously get increased difficulty when multiple people join your mission, and the person who joined was a low level, so Teostra became more difficult to handle, and I had to do more work for 2 people, so we ended up not completing it in time, and the full 15 minutes did elapse, and I failed that investigation. So that was the third one that you saw there. This here is the fourth, so I want you to really let that sink in, okay? I already told you the guaranteed large crown event quest, so I only had to look at Teostra a total number of 4 times to get this miniature crown. And people can look at monsters dozens of times and even engage the monsters and do the full hunt dozens of times and still never get a crown. So what I'm going to provide for you is my foolproof analysis of increasing the likelihood to find crowns in investigations. Now you can see here, coming fresh off of that last one, that this one is noticeably smaller. I wouldn't say it's significantly smaller, but that's kind of the rate you run at trying to get these crowns for the monsters. But I saw the length of his tail in addition to walking next to him and seeing that his elbow joint was a little lower. So I was like, okay, I'm going to engage this monster again. And that's sort of the rinse and repeat cycle that you have to go through if you're grinding for these crowns. Okay, if you're just doing it lackadaisical, you might have another method, but I'm actually actively going for these crown monsters. With the investigations, okay, this is not covering the event quests because there's plenty of information out there online and on YouTube for the event quests, what to look for, which crowns have higher rates of showing, which crowns have guaranteed, which event quests those are, so on and so forth. This is strictly for investigations because so much speculation exists out there from people not like avidly testing their theory versus just assuming after a couple of completions, and like majority of it comes from people who have had the trophy but they didn't really pay attention to how they got the crowns when they came to, because they have so many hours in the game that it just naturally happened over the course of time, and then they realized, oh, I only need like 1 or 2 more crowns, I might as well, you know, try to harsh this out real quick. But with me, I can tell you firsthand, without trying to dupe you into believing any BS, I have accumulated a total of 7 gold crowns with my method. Those crowns have been the miniature Teostra you're about to see, also a miniature Rathalos. I got a couple of doubles. I got a double on Ancient Forest with a miniature Anjanath and a large Puke, and then on Coral Highlands I got a large Tsitsi and a miniature Paolumu. Now also, something that wasn't in line with my investigations, but just to show you in comparison, I got a miniature Puke, but it wasn't the kind of investigations I was running. It was from recommendations online. So in the course of time it took me to get 1 Puke, I arguably got 6 other crowns in just as many attempts, because I grinded the Puke out back when I was testing theories in my first installment of this video genre for these crown farming techniques. But yeah, so 7 crowns, all gold crowns, no silver, even though sometimes I did get silver to generate. However, that's not worth mentioning because silver doesn't benefit you in any way whatsoever. And now it's time for the ultimate reveal. Before I get into that, first I'm going to tell you what I originally hypothesized and what I was going for in the beginning, which in turn sort of ended up benefiting me, but only once I figured out the ultimate sort of suggestion or tip or advice or trick, what have you, for increasing the likelihood of these crown monsters appearing on the map. Alright? I'm not here to pull one over on you, legitimate trickster. It is not in my interest to dupe the gamer. I'm here for you guys, and developers on the other hand can go and eat a bologna sandwich. No mayo. Alright. What I originally thought was, every time you start an investigation, whatever monster it is, whatever area you're in, there always seems to be staged turf wars, or like scripted monster encounters, where if you deal so much damage to your monster, your little mini-map outline will turn white, meaning the monster is fixing to retreat, and they'll go to an area with another monster that's on the map. Okay, this almost seems to happen with every single investigation, and it always happens the same precise way, it seems. Okay, so what I originally thought was, when these things take place, whether another monster on the map has entered your area where you're fighting the monster of the investigation, or the monster that you're fighting flees from where you're at to an area where there's another monster. Okay? I originally thought that when this happened, that other monster was there to present itself for a specific reason, And that reason being, it was a crown monster, or it had the increased likelihood of being a crown monster. Because other than cinematic effect or whatever Capcom might have been going for with the turf wars and the monster encounters and having multiple monsters on the map when you're doing investigations, aside from just asinine pig-headedness of, hey, this looks cool, let's put it in there, if it were to serve a purpose, that would be the most likely of the scenarios, where that this monster is seeking you out for a specific reason. It's presenting itself to you because it has the likelihood of being a crown monster, because when people start investigations, they tend to get tunnel vision. They're like, I'm here for this specific monster, I'm farming materials, I'm farming crowns, whatever the case. So they forget that there are other monsters on the map at the same time you're running that investigation. So it just gives me that sense, or it gave me the sense, that there's a reason for that. There being other monsters, and they're always crossing paths with you while you're actively hunting your monster. Okay? That panned out to a certain degree, but only once I figured out the specific conditions that increase the likelihood of your crown monster appearing for your investigation, like the specific monster you're going for, okay, in addition to other ones that might be on the map at the same time. And that is 15-minute time limits. That is a 1-5 minutes, not 50, not 50, 15. Okay, there was a lot of speculation online as far as conditions go, and a lot of it pretty much seemed to end at conditions don't really matter as long as there's at least 1 silver reward and 1 gold reward. Now, I have 1 bronze, 1 silver, and 2 gold rewards with this Teostra. With the miniature Rathalos, I had 2 silver and 2 gold. With the Anjanath and the Puke, I had a tempered Anjanath capture. So, it does work and prove itself to a certain degree about having at least 1 gold and 1 silver. However, every single one of those, with the exception of the Puke, the miniature Puke, were 15-minute investigations, including the tempered Anjanath, and that is the one that I want to focus on the most, because online they say likelihood of crowns in tempered monster investigations is like 3%. I don't know where they get this number from. I don't know who has, deciphered the gaming code or whatever, or punched some numbers into an algorithm to figure that out. But comparing that to the high recommended suggestion online was hunting with 1 silver, at least 1 silver and 1 gold, the likelihood was 6%. So they were comparing a tempered monster with 3% to the other, which is at least 1 silver and 1 gold, with 6% likelihood. Okay? So then, how do you explain that I got 2 gold crowns in 1 tempered monster hunt? And that goes back to that 15-minute timer. Okay? And I mentioned this in my other video, the second installment. The reason I truly believe that that is the case, the 15 minutes are like your go-to, that's where you're going to find crown monsters, is because if somebody was using even a microscopic percentage of their brain at Capcom, they would have said, hey, when these hunters get good enough that they can hunt a monster in under 15 minutes and even do multiple monsters in under 15 minutes, we should increase the likelihood of those being crown monsters, because when you're at the pinnacle of your hunting abilities in Monster Hunter World, you should go after those trophy monsters, the ones that you wanted mounted on your wall, and the equivalent of this game is the crown monsters. So I pieced the puzzles together, man, and this has worked for me just astronomically. I can't boast it enough, because I'm not over here trying to just, trick you into believing anything. I want you to test it yourself. I'm showing you firsthand that I'm getting it after my second real-time attempt with Teostra. Okay? It's not guaranteed, but to have only 3 active hunts and 4 investigations done for trying to get Teostra, I can't tell you, like, it has to make sense. You know, it just does. So we're going to get to the screen here showing you the miniature crown popping. If you found this helpful, go ahead and leave a thumbs up, leave a comment. Any questions you might have, I'll be glad to answer them. Refer to my other videos as well for some helpful tips and insight. I cover a lot more. But here it is. Boom. Gold crown. What a relief. Alright guys, as always, thanks for watching.